Last week, it came out that two parents have been arrested for harassing their child's school. They'd asked questions of their governors, questions about whether the governors had followed process, whether the governors had advertised publicly, why they'd given the role to the deputy head seemingly without any process. I'm sure the governors followed process. They always have a process for this. When they followed that, the appropriate response for everyone was to reply with a letter that explained how and to resolve the issue. Years ago, if the parents complained about that, they'd be asked to come in, or they'd be spoken to, or they'd ask them to stop talking to people about it. Now, the response is a slammed fist on the table and an immediate ban of the parents from going to the school. When they then share the letter on the WhatsApp group, the response is to send round the police. Oh, we feel at risk. We feel at harm. Our hurty feelings are hurt. I don't know how appropriate or inappropriate the parents' response was, but there seems no evidence, and the police certainly think there's no evidence. Yet the police were immediately there, knocking on the door and dragging them out for 12 hours of questioning. A few weeks ago, there was a very similar response when a Labour councillor's wife said that asking her husband to step down over inappropriate comments was making her feel unsafe. It was harassment. To me, these cases don't show particularly that the police is heavy-handed. Although it seems inappropriate turning up with 6 police officers, they show to me that the powers that be, the people in positions of authority, can make any claim about someone, however spurious, and the police won't say, so what did they say? So how did that make you feel at risk? And I've got to ask, is this because of the culture we've created with non-crime hate incidents? Non-crime hate incidents are there to stop genocide occurring in the country. And I'm not joking, that is the actual philosophy and social theory behind it. If you don't nip in the bud people being unhappy about things, they'll turn to the streets and before you know it, there'll be a genocide. And non-crime hate incidents come with two nasty, nefarious characteristics that are undermining our society today. Firstly, you don't need to commit a crime to have your collar felt by the police. Secondly, you don't need to apply common sense. The whole basis of non-crime hate incidents is that you're creating a micro-crime if you actually apply common sense to whether that person was offended or felt at risk. So we've built a state where if I'm not happy about something and complain to the police will just assume that I'm right, assume that I'm not being silly, and rock up with 6 police and take someone away for 12 hours of questioning. It's a very slippery slope we've put ourselves on, and it's very clear that we're on a slippery slope where the police feel duty bound to arrest anyone that they've said something unpleasant about someone in power. You're a councillor, you're a school governor, you're an MP. The police is there to make sure that nobody says anything mean about you or questions the logic or legality of your actions. This doesn't mean a blank check to say whatever you want. I disapprove of the policies, the implementation, and the quality of MPs, and pretty much everything about the current government. But I feel them no malice. I wish them no harm. And real harm and real malice has to be where the police get involved. There's the old joke about the fireman helping the cat out of the tree. We all know that the fire service isn't there to get cats out of trees. That's an ancillary benefit of having a fire service. But it's quite clear that one of the ancillary benefits of having a police force right now is that you can threaten parents or members of the public who dare to question the appropriateness of your actions if you have some minor level of authority. A school governor isn't exactly God's representative on earth. And this has real impact on the police as well. When the police investigate someone who threatened death or harm or injury against another person, nobody thinks, oh, the police are a bit heavy-handed here. But when the police investigate sharing a photo of a letter to parents and other parents at the school, it raises questions as to whether you can trust the police. And policing is based on trust. Many years ago, someone I know knocked a motorcyclist over, and it was an accident. It obviously wasn't on purpose. But the police were very heavy-handed. They were right there. They were, this is very serious. We're going to take you down the station. We're coming after you. And that person was very scared. And then they found out that the motorcyclist didn't have insurance. Well, suddenly it went from the motorist was a psychopathic murderer who tried to kill the motorcyclist to the motorcyclist was a reckless lunatic who'd thrown themselves in front of the car. Neither was true. But witnessing the very binary approach that the police followed, where someone had to be guilty, put questions in my friend's mind. When we hear stories about police turning up because you've said something that seems perfectly appropriate and ask questions that it's reasonable to ask, what really suffers, other than freedom of speech, open discourse, and transparency on the actions of public bodies, is the police. Because if you phone them up and say someone's thrown a brick through your window, or someone's stolen your catalytic converter, or someone's caused some physical harm to your property, or someone's mugged you, they're not going to do anything about it. Because there isn't the simplicity of an address to turn up and a person who has to be guilty. The Home Secretary wants more of these non-hate crime incidents. But until we finally finish and close and ban non-hate crime incidents, the police will lose trust day by day from the people as more of these ridiculous stories surface. I want to live in a country where people respect the police and trust the police. And these non-hate crime incidents and these stupid stories of baseless claims being investigated do nothing but undermine the police.